Welcome to the media chat room where the celebrity headlines are talking. Hey to all my chatty patty lovers out there, we have a good one for you today. But first, I'm gonna need you to subscribe to the channel. In the media chat room, we'll be discussing all of the latest hot topics going on with your favorite celebrities. So if the streets are talking about it, so are we. Now all I need you to do is make sure that you hit your notification bell so that you can know when we upload our next video. Hey to all my chatty patty lovers out there, I am back and I am bringing you all the Keefe D Tupac information that I told y'all about in our quick chat. Now y'all know everything is buzzing, going crazy because Keefe D has been arrested by the Los Angeles Police Department for having a connection in the Tupac Shakur shooting 27 years ago. Now, if you are a part of Gen X or the millennial generations, then you know that this is a long time coming because it's always been an unsolved mystery or more like a cold case when it comes to the killing of Tupac Shakur. Now, just for time's sake, I'm not going to go into who Tupac was. If you don't know, Google. But it's always been understood and reported that his death was contributed due to hip-hop beef between Death Row and Bad Boys. Now, because I've been in these headlines ever since the story broke, I have a little different take on the situation, and I'll talk to y'all about that later. Now, going back to Keefe D and how this stuff all took place. So, Keefe D is a known crip from Compton, California, who was a big-time drug dealer. He had connection with this guy from Harlem by the name of Eric Von Zip, who went by the name Zip, and that's how we're going to refer to him for the rest of the video. Now, Zip was connected to Puff. During the 90s hip-hop era, it was a whole lot of beef going on between the East Coast and West Coast rappers, specifically Biggie and Tupac. And when the beef became public, it got real crazy. At the time, Suge Knight had a reputation for being very volatile, and Tupac was releasing a lot of volatile diss records towards Biggie and the Bad Boy record label. Now, from here on out, I have to put on my allegedly signs, okay? The beef had became so bad that whenever Puff traveled to California, he felt like he needed protection. So good old buddy Zip looked out. He had some connection with some Crips that he knew by the name of Dwayne Davis, aka Keefe D, which ultimately worked out because Tupac and Suge were in affiliation with Blood. So Keefe D, for lack of better words, became the security for Diddy, aka Puffy, which was his name back then. When you first hear it, it might sound alarming. However, it's pretty standard in the music industry. A lot of times when rappers travel from city to city, they do what's called a check-in. The check-in is done with a highly respected person that lives in the city that person is traveling to. Letting them know I'm going to be in the city, so if anything going down, make sure I'm good. And actually, this same check-in system is the same thing that destroyed the relationship of Biggie and Tupac. And Death Row was not letting up off the gas. And it was becoming real bad for business. So allegedly, Diddy wanted the situation to be taken care of and mentioned some propositions to Keefe D in the sum of $1 million to take out Tupac and Suge. Now, after everything I done uncovered, I never heard anything about a time frame in which this was supposed to take place. But the proposition was well known and there were several meetings about it. Now let's fast forward to September 7, 1996. On this night, a lot of people were in Las Vegas because there was a boxing match that was happening. Earlier that month, there was an altercation between the Bloods and the Crips at the mall. They ran into each other at the boxing event. And the Bloods along the side of Tupac jumped this Crip by the name of Orlando Anderson, who happens to be the nephew of Keefe D. Now, although Tupac was not a Blood, he was Blood affiliated. The word got back to Keefe D and now it's go time. This now becomes a perfect situation to handle two issues at once. Later on that night, the car that Tupac was riding in with Suge Knight received several bullet shots from a white Cadillac that was driving by, which ultimately was the cause of death for Tupac Shakur. Over the course of time, there's been many documentaries showcasing the list of events that occurred that night in order to find the killer of Tupac. With much speculation, debates, and motives, there was never any real evidence to showcase who this killer was. The case went cold for many years because many speculate there was politics as well as corruption inside of the police department. Now, due to it being an unsolved mystery and such a devastating loss for the hip-hop community, Tupac's death always remained to be a hot topic in great debates and interviews. But in 2009, some answers would finally come to surface as to what exactly happened that night Tupac was shot. Now, as I stated in the beginning, Keefe D was a Crip and longtime drug dealer who continued to be investigated by police, ultimately getting arrested in 2009 on drug trafficking charges, which held a life sentence if convicted. Now, all of that information is going to give you a better idea as to where we are today. Now, one of the officers whose name you've probably heard thrown around in the case is now retired, but was heavily invested in the shooting of Tupac. His name is Greg Kading. He's on record throughout many interviews saying that this was his tactic in order to get the information as to who was the person that shot Tupac. So in exchange for reducing or dropping the charges, Keefe D will be offered a proffer agreement to let the police know what happened the night of Tupac's shooting. Now, here is why reading is fundamental, and you cannot just go off the words that everyone say are used. A proffer agreement gives you the ability to not self-implicate yourself in a crime or charge. Let me break it down. That means that if you place yourself at a crime scene and you're giving the information to a police, the information cannot be used against you for prosecution as long as you follow the terms upon the agreement. So if you break those terms, deal over. But also, another thing to know about a proffer agreement, should information be found as is related to that case or charge, you can still be prosecuted within that case or charge. Therefore, it has no type of immunity associated with the agreement, which means you cannot be prosecuted at all. So it is safe to say that Keefe D thought that he had immunity for his involvement in the shooting of Tupac, which ultimately led to his death. Because 10 years later, in 2019, he would become a self-published author of a book called Compton Street Legend, which details his involvement in the Tupac shooting. Now, it's this same book that ultimately leads Keefe D to be interviewed by Vlad TV, which now gives him free promotion because he's on a bigger platform to sell his book. So let's be clear. Keefe D exposed everything in his book before going on to Vlad's platform to conduct an interview. So Vlad wasn't this master interviewer who pulled out information from Keefe D. He just asked questions regarding the information that was already put inside the book by Keefe D. And because of his large platform, the information begins to spread, and he is drawing attention to himself, alerting Las Vegas police that he has broken the proffer agreement. So according to the statement made for the proffer agreement, in addition to the DJ Vlad interview and book written by Keefe D, we now know that there were 4 individuals involved in the shooting of Tupac. The driver, Terrence Brown, Keefe D, his nephew, Orlando Anderson, and DeAndre Smith, all of whom are now deceased except for Keefe D. And according to all statements made by Keefe D, the shooter that night was his nephew, Orlando Anderson. And although Keefe D was not the shooter, he is an accessory to the crime. He is officially being charged with 1 count of murder with use of a deadly weapon with a gang enhancement. Because although this seemed to be a hip-hop beef gone wrong and multiple stories involving Puffy, aka P. Diddy, ultimately the shooting was a result of retaliation from gang involvement. So since Keefe D did break the proffer agreement, prosecution will be able to use many statements that he has made throughout interviews as well as his book. In addition to statements made by a witness who is a former Crip and the roommate of DeAndre Smith in 1996, who testified before a grand jury during the summer of 2023, recalling everything that DeAndre Smith told him that happened the night of the shooting, including that he was the shooter, which contradicts the story told by Keefe D. Because there is no statute of limitation for murder, Keefe D could be facing a life sentence if convicted. Since being arrested on September the 29th, Keefe D had his first appearance in court on October the 4th, 2023. Due to his lawyer failure to show in court, his arraignment was delayed 2 weeks, and he reappears in court October 19, 2023. Keefe D announced his attorney to be FAAL, who is a top highly ranked Los Angeles attorney. There's so much more that's going to unfold in this case. Chatty Patties, hop in the comments and let me know all that you know about this case. And what do you think the defense strategy could possibly be should he enter a plea of not guilty? Let's talk about it, because this has been a long time coming. Now, y'all know I'm going to be in those comments, so I want to hear from everybody. And before you go, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Share this video so that YouTube know that we provide quality content, and turn on your notification bell so that you know when we drop our next video. That is all for now, but I'll see you with the next headlines. Bye-bye.